Years after Linda's Blue Bloods death, her legacy continues to be a major factor in Danny's life, to the point that it's even sabotaging his future in Boston Blue. Police procedurals set in New York weren't anything new when CBS launched the Tom Selleck-led show. That said, it was able to differentiate itself from its peers by putting a full family at the center of its storytelling. Because of this, the Reagan clan's personal narratives were as important as the cases they tackled week after week. What makes Blue Bloods more impressive was that it was able to preserve its massive ensemble all the way to the end. The show only featured very few personal losses, but that made them more impactful. Now, 8 years after Linda's death in Blue Bloods, it continues to have an effect on Danny's life as it continues in Boston Blue. Danny's quick decision to move to Boston is a reminder of Linda's legacy. CBS. After Blue Bloods ending, rumbles about how the show could continue, either through CBS walking back on its cancellation or via an offshoot. Ultimately, the network decided on the latter, with Donnie Wahlberg spearheading it. The biggest challenge for Boston Blue, however, was how to explain Danny's move to Boston, which was resolved with Sean's near-death accident. It's easy to justify Danny's decision, especially in light of Blue Blood's overall theme of the importance of family. That said, it would also be remiss to not acknowledge that Linda's death likely had something to do with how quickly Danny made up his mind about moving to Beantown. For context, Linda died in a helicopter crash, and Blue Bloods did a good job establishing how difficult it was for him to cope with the grief that came with losing her. Danny didn't even entertain the thought of dating for years, until the Blue Bloods finale set up his eventual romance with Baez, something that now continues in Boston Blue. Had it not been for that traumatic experience of losing Linda, there's a good chance that Danny wouldn't have uprooted his whole life to move to Boston with Sean. As he explained himself to Lena Silver in the Boston Blue premiere, he was the one who suggested that his son move to Boston to join the police force. Having been on active duty for years, Danny knew the dangers of the job, but because of what happened to Linda, he was more inclined to prioritize his son over his life in New York, including his relationship with Baez. How Linda's legacy sabotages Danny's personal future in Boston Blue. To be fair, Linda likely does not want Danny to devote his whole life to taking care of the family and ignoring his own. Despite their challenges as a married couple, they genuinely loved each other, so it's safe to assume that she would want to see her ex-husband thrive separate from being a father to their sons. However, it's also difficult to fault Danny for being overprotective after Sean's near death, considering how they lost Linda. As Boston Blue tackles the unexpected ramifications of Danny's haphazard decision to leave New York, there's a risk that his romance with Baez, something that developed for years, will come to an abrupt end. In terms of storytelling, it's difficult to continue their romance as it is. With Danny settling nicely in Boston and with no word about making Marissa Ramirez a series regular in the Blue Bloods offshoot, a breakup may be inevitable.